Good evening. This is the Selectmen meeting of January 10th, 2012. We have a quorum. All the Selectmen are here. We're going to jump around the agenda today. We're going to start with new business. And the first thing we're going to do is a certificate of appreciation for Dennis Morse for his 13 years as fire chief in the town of Raymond. As the chair of the Select Board, Dennis, I just want to express my congratulations on you slowing down a little bit. I know it's a tough job. It's a high-pressure job that you've had for all these years, and you've always been professional, and you've done an excellent job with this department. From when you came on to the difference of the department now is amazing, and you are to be congratulated by this Select Board and the people of the town of Raymond. So for that, I'm going to give you something that you've always wanted.
Benefits? Retirement package.
This is a plaque from the town of Raymond to you, recognizing you for your dedication, 13 years of selfless dedication to the safety and well-being of the citizens of Raymond as fire chief. This is presented to you on your retirement with sincere thanks and appreciation, and I truly mean that, Dennis. Thank you very much.
I didn't know I would say something.
All right. Well, what else is new, Dennis?
If I did, you'd think I was sick and you'd be writing to me asking what was wrong. But
We think you ought to dress up the next time.
I did? I'm glad you noticed up there. Actually, my name's on the plaque, but it's... You guys know it was all about a team. I was talking to Mike or going to Charlie's house or anyone else's house. It's not me that's there. It's the members. It's the members before. It's the Kathy Emerys, the Byron Rogers, the Janet Poulins, Dale Gilmans that came here before me, and those that I leave behind that make the difference. All I tried to do was to get the bright people, get some bright people around me to make me look good, and in turn make you guys look good, and convince my members to believe in what we were trying to do, get you guys to believe it, and ultimately get the citizens. And I think we were successful with that. And I thank you for this, and I thank you for all my members, not just me. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Next up on the agenda is the consideration of the Crown lease renewal proposal. J.P. Kneisel?
Kneisel, yeah.
Great. Can you just introduce yourself and who you're with?
Sure. My full name is actually Joseph Paul Kneisel. I go by JP, representing Crown Castle, and the title we have is Site Lease Specialist, and I'm actually standing instead of one of my coworkers who apparently can't leave Sarasota because it's too cold for him. So literally it was an excuse. And I'm actually from Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire for my life, so it's not too bad right now. But we're here to hopefully address the lease agreement that we have with y'all, and the term of the ground agreement and the security underneath the asset that we own. So.
How many more years are left on your lease?
At this time, there are 8 years remaining. And what we're looking for is a few different things. Our average lease expiration under 25,000+, not including rooftop agreements across the United States, is 2045, 2047, given the area. So what we're looking for is to meet that average on all of our assets, towns, farmers in Illinois, anybody, just anybody. And we are now approaching a situation where us and our competitors, who we also work with, American Tower, the two biggest management companies in America, are looking to secure the asset for a few reasons. First, obviously, for our own financial benefit, because we are a publicly traded company. That doesn't really need to be disclosed, but the other is it was a in my opinion, kind of a silly idea to build out networks for cell phone towers on leased property. So there's only about 20 of us right now with 25,000 assets trying to secure the ground lease. And by secure, I mean our tenants, AT&T, Verizon, of the like, are asking for that term or more if possible. So it's kind of put on us at this point to make these requests and hopefully work out one by one and move through each one of the sites.
Why do you think it's necessary to have a renewal 8 years ahead?
Our tenant license terms, for example, if we had an application in today for T-Mobile, for example, would ask for 30 years renewal term on their license agreement with us to be on the site. So we're looking at the 2045 date, the 2050 date. Their license terms run they're almost as similar as the ground lease terms. They can be terminated by them with 30 days notice. They do it quite often to swap towers for cheaper rent. The idea is if they are going to use their capital to reinvest in their networks, they would like to know that the ground underneath the asset that they're sitting on and the money that they're paying is, just going back to the word, secure for them. So working in certain areas where you already have network build-outs, reinvesting in their equipment is the highest of priority for them. It's the way they market, and it's the way they sell plans to everybody. So that's the ultimate goal. That's the reason why we're looking for the term right now.
Are there any questions on Mr. Kneisel? I'm trying to quickly go through the lease here.
Sure.
Do you have any renewal options on this?
We should have, we're in the, if it's 2020, we have one more renewal term coming up in
Non-useful now.
20, yes, well, we're currently in the 20-year
In
term.
2020?
Yeah.
Is that when it is?
Yeah, that's when it would be
And
remaining.
how long is that renewal for?
The renewal, if the lease was to expire in 2020, if I'm reading the lease correctly, which I believe I am, if the lease was expire or to terminate, the town would have the right to request that we remove the actual tower in itself. The town would be responsible for the cost to dismantle the tower. Or if they decide to keep the physical assets themselves, if we didn't take down the tower itself, I believe it's within, I think it's 30 or 60 days. The town also has the right to relocate the tower with 8 months' notice. Typically, it takes 3 to 5 years to relocate a tower, considering the RF engineering and the cost it entails and the slow nature of working for a corporation. That's one back step that we do have on the lease agreement. The town receives 20% of anyone who does, 20% of the revenues, gross revenues coming from any tenant that we put on the tower, 20% of any affiliated or subsidiaries of Crown Castle that may actually use the tower. And then there's some other quirky language in terms of paneling and how much per panel that would actually be used. It's a little bit outdated and antiquated language, but
it also says that the lease automatically renews if there's less than 5 years remaining in the term.
if
Another 5 years.
if it is not terminated, in that case, if both parties failed to either terminate or to put notice in, then it would automatically renew. So that I would imagine that's something that the town would have to discuss at that time. The only time it would automatically renew for 5 years without the town's consent is if the tower was going to be relocated. At that time, the lessee gains an additional 5-year term in order to relocate that tower. But I did send a few proposals over.
Yeah, I'm looking at those right now.
And yeah, I don't want to force you to have to read anything that's, a little bit mundane and with legal ease. and typically, and I don't know if the town's been approached before, but we do, I spend a lot of time with litigation and moving things out of default, things of that nature, and working really on the finance part.
Are you an attorney?
No. No, I should disclose that ahead of time, right? But they do, the company does pay a premium to buy the ground underneath the tower, which obviously the relocation language would have to change in that instance. If we're buying ground underneath an asset, we want to know what we're paying for is going to be worth its value. And full disclosure on all of it, in case you ever do get approached by a third party, because there are cash equity investors out of New York, out of Boston, out of California, out of Florida. Actually, a guy lives across the street from me. Typically, what the market goes for is you'll pay a 14 times your annual rent for a lump sum assignment of the lease back to the lessor or whomever was purchasing it. That purchase multiple can go up as high as 16, possibly 17, depending on how bad my board of directors wants it. That would explain where the cash numbers come from for the payment.
Okay. Charlie?
Could you just briefly describe the options? One is a full buyout.
One would be a full buyout and assignment of lease. So it's an easement it's just an easement put over the current square footage that's used in the property. The lease is assigned internally back to us, so we become our own landlord at that point. And the other two, it doesn't change the rev share provisions or revenue share provisions that you get from the current tenants. It doesn't alter that by any means. The request is to push that lease agreement out with 5-year options out to 2045, and to increase the ground lease payment, I believe, by $350 a month today, continuing to increase at 5% annually as it is now, or they were looking at a cash payment around $15,000 in exchange for those option terms.
So you're talking $350 a month per year?
Per month, over and above the current monthly amount, 350 times 12 over if it's an
For a
annual.
5-year period, and then every renewal go up 350?
No, if it was agreed to today and the rent was $100, it'd be $450 a month every month, and then the 5% would be kicked in on top of that as well. It's over and above the current monthly or annual. But if it's annual, 350 times 12.
And if I read this lease agreement appropriately, we're talking right now you're leasing a 100 by 150 foot
That's correct.
section of land,
That's correct.
less than 1 acre.
Less than 1 acre. Typical lease, a typical lease area, depending on who built the tower, whether it be in the early 90s by Sprint, T-Mobile out west, you get variations, but on the whole, it's about 2,500 square feet. We prefer 5,000 because Verizon typically wants about 2,000 square feet to themselves. They're kind of their lease, their square footage is what's the word? Greedy. A lot of times they don't like to share space with people, so they like to build their own structures. So.
Other questions? Mike?
On that note, is there interest in more ground space up there?
There's always interest in ground space. The way I see it, and I was actually just in West Lafayette, and I was out in Purdue, Indiana State Fair, down actually with the Colts, and so dealing with a lot of quasi-governmental municipalities, towns, government just in general, and at least my personal rule of thumb is the realistic view is the town or the city has control of whatever goes on with that land in the end anyway. So if we need the land or a tenant needs the land, then we would approach you at that time. Right now, there's no way to hope for that. If this was a sort of a mom and pop deal, we look for options. We'll pay them a cash payment for an option, and when that exercise, we'll pay them a certain per square footage.
but it doesn't make sense to tie any city's hands with additional land if we're not using it and you guys don't know what the use, the highest use is going to be, even if it's 5 feet away. It doesn't make much sense. That's my personal policy. So.
Is there any interest amongst the select board right now to negotiate? Mike?
I definitely understand their point of view in terms of being able to work with their own customers on a longer-term lease. I guess at this point, I would be interested in talking further. I think I would like staff to review it and get back to us. I don't think that I feel comfortable enough in something as complicated as this to have read this in the past 4 or 5 days and make a decision tonight. But if staff looks at it and comes back and makes a recommendation to us to renegotiate and it would help both parties, then I would be amenable to that.
Nancy, can we ask you some questions? I put you on the spot, but
Yes.
if you don't mind going up to the mic.
Joe, did you guys want to see this sheet Nancy made for you?
Yep. Nancy, have you had a chance to evaluate some of these proposals?
In a rapid fire method, yes.
Okay. So, what are you thinking?
You know me, Joe, I'm very conservative. I like the long-term approach, guaranteed income over the next 25, 30 years.
That's where I'm at on it as well.
Okay. Can we, for the next meeting, have an analysis on all the options listed here?
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons, sure.
Charlie?
I know the chairman asked you earlier, Nancy, and I don't know if you were able to do that, to take the 14 times value figure, which is close to $640,000 cash, which is on the table for less than 1 acre of land on top of an old municipal dump. If you were able to then project another 3%, or I believe it was a...
It came out to 640.
15.
What, 650,000, I think, over the next 25 years,
Yeah.
right?
What
Well,
we did
at
was
present value,
calculate,
yeah.
if we invested $230-some thousand over 30 years at 3%, we would arrive at the buyout figure of $650,000.
So, yeah, I think we need a little more information, pros and cons, a recommendation, maybe even run it by our attorney, just to, get some of the legal aspect. I'm always one, my personal philosophy on cash is always king. Take the cash up front. You never know what that industry is going to do.
That's true.
And I think, as Charlie said, 1,000 square feet on an old dump, it isn't quite a price they're willing to pay for it.
Okay. I look at it slightly differently, but that's okay, yeah.
But, I mean, the question is, what are you going to do when you get the lump sum payment? Do you invest it all and get a return on that money, and hopefully better than 3%?
Where are we going to invest it to get better than 3%?
In roads. We're going to invest in roads so we don't have to take out a bond for it at 2 or 3%.
Oh,
Well, we'll come back to the options, but I would also tell you that there are only so many high spots in the world. I don't know how many there are in Indiana, but in Maine, we have a high spot which has value, and it depends on what you think the future of telecommunications is going to be, and that's very unpredictable. I mean,
That's right.
we could be in a whole different technology in 5 or 10 years, and as you suggest, we would have made a bad decision to go with the conservative long-term view. If, however, we continue to go the way that we are now, we'll see enhanced arrays, additional arrays on the existing towers, expansions and improvements to existing towers, and the income we've seen in the past, plus moving forward. in perpetuity. Depends on where the technology goes. I guess history would tell you that that technology probably is not going to last forever, and so, but that's where you guys as elected officials get to make the final judgment on that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to break down the pros and cons, as Sam said, what are the options, and as far as I'm concerned, everything's negotiable.
Right. We'll have it next time.
I mean, this is their first proposal, and, you
This
know,
year.
This year.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a yearly thing, we see this. And we have, as a select board, we haven't
Acted.
acted
Correct.
because they still have 8 years left on that lease. So, okay, thanks, Nancy. JP, you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think,
You need to get to the mic, please. Okay.
no, and I think, you know, you guys are, you know, on the right track in terms of, and how I would approach it in general if it was my decision. You know, and I looked at the tenants. If this, I would be honest and open, if you had a Clearwire, Nextel, Sprint set up on that tower at this time, I would tell you, you're probably at risk of losing that. I've probably terminated over 3,000 Nextel licenses over the past 3 years. That's not doing anything but growing. LightSquared's gone, Clearwire's gone. I mean, our own director had investment other companies that have already gone under. So the one thing you do have is the strong players that are on there in terms of the market, which is a good thing. However, you know, the one way I look at it, because I am looking from a financial perspective, if I was in the town's shoes, 63% of the revenue that comes into town does come from that revenue sharing from our tenants. Those tenants do terminate. The only thing that's left, yeah, you may be left with a piece of steel on that 100,000, you know, 1,000 square feet, or 100 by 100 rather. You're left with the ground rent. So it's, you know, it's always a toss-up. So it could go either way. I hope it doesn't go away, because if that goes away, then I'm looking for a new job.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. My math was wrong. It's 10,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So thanks for pointing that out.
Well, thank you.
So we'll next meeting, Nancy, have a breakdown? Okay? Dana?
Dana Desjardins, 64 River Road. History shows, gentlemen, when one owns a hill, you have the upper hand. So I would suggest that you use your judgment wisely before giving up the hill. It's worth a lot more to these people than you may want to believe. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments on the cell tower? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. A liquor license renewal for Cafe Sebago, Wines Enterprises, Inc. Anybody have?
Craig Messenger's not here this evening, but he has performed the life safety inspection. There are no issues, and there are no code violations, as I understand it. Chris Hansen is here. So everything is up to date, ready to go. No complaints have been received by the town regarding the operation. So staff is recommending approval of the renewal license, and you have it here for signature.
Any problems? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
In a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous? Okay, the next item up on the agenda, we're under old business. The first item is the animal noise ordinance. Just to give a little history here, we had a hearing in November on whether or not that we needed an animal noise control ordinance or an addendum to the barking dog ordinance to consider all animal noise. We we had a dispute between neighbors. We tried to have them work it out. It didn't seem to work out. So there was a request to come back to the Select Board. So I will hear from Mr. Gelston, who approached the Select Board.
Sorry. Hi, thanks. My name's Wayne Gelston. I live on 46 Ledge Hill Road. I'm sure you remember me from the last time I was here. You guys recommended at that point that we try to work it out with our neighbors. We had a pretty lengthy discussion with them out in the parking lot after the meeting. Couldn't come to any resolution at all. Basically, they didn't seem to care at all about our concerns. My wife mentioned how I had to sleep with earplugs in my ears. Julie recommended my wife put earplugs in. At the end of it, my wife said, well, when asked if roosters had more rights than people, Julie answered, yes, they do. And that's where we're at with this. I sent a letter or an email to Don Willard asking him not only about the animal noise ordinance, but the possibility of an ordinance limiting the ownership of roosters to one rooster. Unless you're in commercial chicken production, I don't see any need for more than one rooster. And if you are in commercial chicken production, I believe it should be licensed and inspected. If you can't live without the sound of a crowing rooster in your life, can't you limit it to one rooster? I think a lot of neighborhoods throughout the country have looked at this. Some have banned roosters outright. Some have put a limit of one on for them. I also discussed with the neighbors all the accusations they've made about me. Asked them, who did I call? Who did I complain to? They couldn't come up with an answer. I hadn't complained to anybody about anything. They said I complained about their Harley. I said, who doesn't like a Harley? They said I complained about their horses. I said, your horses are beautiful. I think they're awesome. Their dog. I love German Shepherds. I've never complained about a leaf blower, a lawnmower, a truck. I've never complained to anybody about anything. So, you know, at that point, we just said, I don't know what else to do here. The roosters, Julie gave you, Julie's the owner of the rooster, she gave you guys a video or a CD. I just want to point out, if you did listen to that CD, that the reason you couldn't hear the roosters, they're in the barn. And they're in the barn now because animal control is trying to catch a hybrid wolf. It's my opinion, it's probably gray fox, because I see gray fox all the time in my yard. But we're at the point now where spring is coming. She said at the meeting she's going to let the roosters back out in the spring. I had put a YouTube video up of the roosters that you can hear from my front porch. I don't know if Don forwarded that over to you guys and if you guys had a chance to listen to it. But if you did, play it over 3 times in a row. It's 2 minutes and 40 seconds long. And that'll give you an idea of what 9 minutes of our life is in the summertime. I have numerous videos of audios of roosters all day, all night. I've had people approach me in the stores in Windham saying, we saw the video, how do you put up with it? I had somebody who lives on Ledge Hill Road come to me in a store and say, we walk past your house every day, how do you live there? I know you guys are concerned about a slippery slope. What I'm looking for is common sense. We're not talking about llamas, we're talking about roosters. And I would venture to say, if you asked 100 people, do you think it's a good idea to have 25 roosters within, let's give them 100 feet of my porch, because their barnyard is right across the road from my yard. So whatever the distance is, Nathan, of a 2-lane road in Raymond, that's how far I am from them. And I'd venture to say, if you asked 100 people, is this a good plan? Probably 98 of them are going to say, no, it's not a good plan. Who would want to live next to 25 roosters? I don't know how many roosters she has now, but if we don't limit the number of roosters, what's to prevent her from getting 100 roosters? You know, I mean, where do we draw the line? What I'm looking for is some common sense. I'm not looking for people to ban all animals. I don't see people running to the town saying the llamas are driving me crazy, the cows are driving me crazy, the horses are driving me crazy. But if you listen to a rooster all day long, it will drive you crazy. So I just want to thank you folks for letting me come up here. I will put more videos on YouTube. I'm planning on doing media. I'm going to do interviews with newspapers, the radio. I'll be putting videos up. I have businesses in town who are going to put the YouTube address on their sign. I want to educate the people of Raymond so that when they step into the town meeting, they don't think it's just some guy raising Cain over nothing. I have a legitimate concern here. We've lived here over 20 years, and no one should have to live with the noise that we're putting up with. And I'm just hoping you guys will see it our way. Thanks.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Yep. Sam?
Do you feel then that the addition of roosters or crowing to the animal noise
My concern is,
ordinance is not
well,
going
see,
to work for you?
my concern, Sam, is that people that own other types of animals are going to look at that and go, wait a minute, you know, I own a horse, I own a llama, I own whatever, and boy, if I vote for this, maybe my neighbor will complain about my animal. I want to make it specific to roosters because roosters are a unique case. I mean, I don't know a lot of barnyard animals that make that kind of racket all day long. In fact, my boss was in Key West and he called me and he goes, I thought about you. There's roosters everywhere.
I have to be frank with you, I have never heard of a rooster that made the noise all day long.
Did you listen to the video?
I did.
Okay, I'll put more up. They're from all day, bright and early in the morning till dark.
I skipped the morning news.
And if you've never heard of it, I'd invite you to come sit on my porch, Sam.
Okay.
It's an enlightening experience, I can tell you. Any other questions?
Any other questions, Wayne?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Anybody else want to address the select board?
Oh, yeah. My name is Julie Sutherland. I live at 51 Ledge Hill Road. I own the roosters. I left you guys a DVD of videos of the roosters. Did you guys watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's videos from dusk to dawn, during the night, in their stall. Roosters do not crow 24/7. It's a lie. The roosters have been inside. As a matter of fact, on the last selectmen's meeting, which I had the DVD for, Mr. Gilston admits and states on it that it had been quiet, that he thought the roosters were gone until it was spoken to him that the roosters haven't been gone. They're all there. Now, Dawn and Chris were at the house. They were 5 feet away from the roosters. Were the roosters loud? Outdoors. Were the roosters crowing continuously beyond your limit of hearing?
I mean, this isn't a trial, so can you just make your point?
Yes.
This is rural agriculture. This is farming. You don't like the sound of farm animals? Move to the city. Then you can listen to the sirens and the shootings and the people screaming and yelling. The roosters are inside. We tried to do a mediation. That was backed out. It's never come and talked to us. I went on the internet and I pulled up rooster sounds. 200 and something thousand pages where you can download rooster sounds. The video we made is not of my roosters. It's rural. I rescued the roosters. The roosters are staying. They are inside. The stall is being insulated with a soundproofing insulation. It's green, it's thin, which will help minimize even more, which has already been stated that thought the roosters were gone. When the weather gets warm, yes, the roosters will be coming out after the hybrid wolf is caught. We use them as agricultural purpose for insect control, which helps keeps the ticks, the flies, the mosquitoes, the worms, the grubs, and everything down on our property, which help entail health life for my horses, for the cats that are outside living, and for my dogs. You know, we tried. We've been keeping them in. We've been insulating the stall. You know, nobody else has said anything but Mr. Gilston. And go on the internet and check it out. Rooster Sounds, 200 and something thousand pages that you can record. I've invited you all to come down and check it out. I haven't seen any of you. I haven't had a card left in my door, or nothing.
Okay. Any questions of Ms. Sutherland? Ms. Sutherland, do you think it's okay in Raymond Village to have roosters?
I don't live in the village.
I know, I'm asking you though. Is it okay to have roosters in Raymond Village?
If it's classified and zoned as rural, then you have a legal right to have roosters in the village. If it is zoned rural, yes.
So
If
you-
it is not zoned rural, then no.
Do you think there should be a buffer of any distance at all?
I've measured it, and my barnyard is well over 100 feet from his front door. I have a tape, I measured it from the front of my barn to his front porch.
It's probably 150 feet.
Have you been over to see the roosters?
Yeah, I go by it every single day, twice a day.
Are they
Sometimes
noisy?
4
Have you
times a
stopped,
day.
put your window down and listen to them?
I do, actually. Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Roosters do not crow 24/7. They don't crow all
they
night.
don't crow at night.
No.
Everybody knows that.
And these guys do not crow all day long. I got home this afternoon, from work, because the roosters were screaming. You want to know why they were screaming? The hybrid wolf was out back. That's why they were noisy this afternoon.
Do we have a
Going down.
picture of that hybrid wolf?
What's that?
Do we have a picture?
Not yet, but we do have tons of cameras up now. Motion sensors and the whole entire works. We will capture, now that we have cameras put in secure areas so they can't be messed with, because we've had some really step backs because our cameras have been messed with. So now we have secure cameras put in secure box and in secure lock locations.
Who's messing with your cameras?
We have no idea who is messing with our cameras, but they are put up. We do have motion censored night and day cameras put up now. There are 6 throughout the property, so we're hoping to get pictures soon.
Okay, Sam?
You have actually seen this hybrid wolf?
2, there's 2.
Two.
A male and
You've seen
female. Oh, yeah. I've been within 3-4 feet of them, actually. Been face to face with them several times. They've killed they got 12 of the roosters. They've gone after the horses, they've come after me. Yeah, I've seen them face to face. And I'm not the only one. There are several people in the area that have seen them up on their porch, taking their cats. People across the street had 30-something cats. They got 3 cats now. It's quite a very dangerous animal. Now, it's bigger than my German Shepherd, and Dawn and Chris have seen my German Shepherd, my female, my big German Shepherd, and it's bigger than my female German Shepherd.
Other question? Charlie?
Well, just to confirm for the public, I don't know if I'd call it a hybrid wolf, but I've seen a 50-pound coyote, which if you put it side by side with a wolf, and it's been in my backyard
I got pictures
on
of
Raymondville Road,
coyotes.
so I'm sure their migration and their routes, they're big animals. I don't want to be out cross-country skiing and having one of those come close to me.
I do
have them
have
on my
pictures of
property, too.
coyotes that have been on the property. I do have pictures of them.
But these aren't your typical 25-pound coyote.
These are not coyotes.
This is the size of a
Large German Shepherd. And my German Shepherd weighs 130 pounds.
Yeah, I wouldn't
And-
say this was probably more in the 65-pound range. But
No, these 2, he is large and she's just a hair smaller than he is. And they have 3 young coyotes that are now running with them. Very dangerous, very dangerous. They've been taking down everything in the area, going up on porches, getting cats, standing at pet doors and in people's back doors. The cat went to go out and he was standing right there waiting. And they've actually boarded it up since. It's been pretty dangerous. We have a trap that is being made, and we're hoping to get pictures and capture them soon.
Any questions from Ms. Sutherland? Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yep.
John Bisnat, Merch Landing Road.
You gotta step up to the microphone, please.
Is this going to be rooster specific, or is this going to be all pets and animals? Because by the sounds of it, by the time we come to the end of this, this could be the elimination of all pets in Raymond.
I don't think that's our intention at all. We're just trying to solve a problem that has been brought to our attention. We already have a barking dog ordinance. We're just trying to deal with another type of noise.
And to address the wolf thing there she's talking about, I'm sure IF&W would love to hear that because, to my knowledge, I've hunted and fished in the state of Maine for over 20 years. We've never heard of a wolf hybrid in the wild here. Coyotes only, so.
If you ask IF&W, they tell you there's no such thing.
We are, IF&W has been notified, and we've been working in coincide with them and the Maine biologist and the wildlife rehabilitator. So yes, they, you know, we've been communicating, they've been at the house, and they've been informing us, we've been informing them, they've been helping us, we've been helping them. So yes, they are involved.
Yep. Other questions? Comments? Okay, it's up to the select board to decide whether to move forward with this. Mike?
In reading the barking dog ordinance that was, I guess, originally 1984, I'm guessing that it was a conflict, something like this, that eventually got that ordinance passed. Possibly somebody leaving a dog tied out back and it barked all day while the owner was at work. I don't know. I mean, there's no way to know what the history of the barking dog ordinance is. Barking dog is a pet. It's an animal. And if neighbors can't come to a mutual agreed upon understanding of that, they have a remedy. I listen to the rooster owners say there's no trouble with it, and I listen to the neighbors say there is trouble with it. It would be interesting to know if you just put the barking dog ordinance to the roosters, you know, back this summer when it was, you know, evening or whatever, and you read the rules where the control officer has to go out, has to hear it for 30 minutes, then would have a conversation with the owner if they found it in violation for 30 minutes. Then if they came back a second time and they were found in violation again, then you would get a warning. Then if there was a third occurrence, you would go back again, and then you would say if there's another occurrence, then you get a fine. So it would take 4 full incidences to get to a fine. All right, so that's the way our barking dog ordinance works. Listening to Ms. Sutherland, that will never happen. But it would offer a remedy if it did happen. I don't know the proper procedures from our standpoint if we were to have a public hearing to find out if there was interest in, you know, other than, you know, an agenda item that is published, you know, 5-6 days before our meeting, to find out if there was interest to get this to then be taken to town meeting. But I don't think that, based on Ms. Sutherland's conversation, that she would have any issues with the roosters and being fined if it followed the same criteria that I was reading here on a proposed ordinance, if it was under an animal control ordinance. I also don't think that, you know, the llamas or the cows would ever fall under that either. But it does offer a remedy if 2 of our citizens or a neighborhood against a neighborhood, you know, can't come to an agreement. Right now, we have no remedy. This could go back and forth, and but as far as we're concerned, it would still be a vote of the people. It's not up to us to create this. It's up to us to bring it forth for further discussion, and then a vote. So I don't know.
The process we're in right now is whether or not to get a public hearing with an ordinance.
I have a question. If it was stated at the last meeting and is recorded on the DVD by Mr. Gilston that he could not or barely hear the roosters and he thought they were gone until he was told otherwise, then why is this brought forward again?
He has the right to bring it forward again. We asked you to go and try and mediate this. You didn't arrive at a successful mediation.
We were all willing to do that.
Well,
Joe, can I speak to that? It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, we're already at the board discussion level, but go ahead, Susan, why don't you come on up? My question to you is, how many people have been fined for the barking dog ordinance in the past year?
Past year, 0.
Okay.
Most of the time, to be honest with you, people aren't willing to fill out and keep track of the barkings. They just keep calling. We'll go up, sit there, spend the town's money, and we won't hear it. And we have to go when they call us. And we've spent a lot of money on several different areas, and we have not been able to catch the animal doing it. So that's totally up to the town. But as far as, I do want to just bring up one thing. I can understand Mr. Jellison's concern, but the birds have been in the barn. And whether you believe it or not, we have been working with the state and other organizations. And I don't know what it is and won't know what it is till we catch it. But there is a wolf hybrid or something out there. There's 2 of them. We've got enough witnesses. We've got enough cases. If somebody would stop messing with our cameras and equipment, we would certainly have a picture of it. That has been reported to the police, and we're working with the police on this situation. But after the last meeting, and their not so good comments out in the parking lot, I did talk with the Sutherlands and Russos and explained to them that we needed to do something. I asked the town to help mediate it, because they're not going to take my word for it as animal control officer. Give me somebody to help mediate it. That wasn't provided. So there was real no way to sit down and mediate when you've got 2 people that are unwilling. But the Sutherlands and Russos did agree pretty much what we asked them to do that night, which is they would put them in at night when this time comes that they can release them because of the hybrid or whatever it is. They would put them in at night. They wouldn't let them out till after they took care of their horses in the morning. They would build the coop on the back of the building. They would try to put some buffers in there the best they can, and they've even gone above that already without even telling us, but they went ahead and put insulation inside the barn to try to make it even less noisy. So I don't want to say there was nothing done. I explained this to Don and asked him if he would pass it on to the I don't want to mess up their name, Jelston's, because they seem to be wanting to talk to him, that we had worked out to that agreement. That's as far as we ever got. The animals have been in the barn. I've been over there multiple times working on this wolf issue, trying to get traps designed and stuff. And I had people go with me, and they like, well, where are the birds? So I'm not saying they don't make noise for these guys. Please understand, I'm not telling them that they don't hear what they hear. I'm just saying right now there is no additional noise, and we're not going to know if the plan that we worked out works until we catch this hybrid, or it gets shot, or it gets gone in some manner or form. So I'll leave it up to you guys to decide what you want to do from there. We'll uphold whatever you put forward. But my concern would be, again, we've only had 2 instances in the town with roosters. The one was resolved without coming any further than talking to animal control, and this one.
But we were talking about 1 rooster at that time.
There was actually more than 1 rooster, but it was resolved, the people resolved it on their own. We just made a few suggestions and they resolved it on their own.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not my job. They resolved it. We didn't have anything to do with it.
Okay, thank you. So the procedure is, if we want to go ahead, we would have a public hearing on a proposed ordinance. Or it would end right here tonight, if no one's comfortable with going forward to a public hearing.
So a public hearing costs money, of course.
It's no different than any selectman meeting. You would start out with a public hearing. It's more of a formal process, pros and cons, people for and against.
We could have it prior to a select board meeting.
You would have it prior to a select board meeting. I'm assuming the same.
Is there, Joe, am I correct in assuming that there is some connection between these predatory entities, canine animals, whatever they are, and apparently they do exist, and the noise?
Yes.
Oh.
And if they're gone, the noise is under control. Is that correct or not?
No, I think it's just the opposite. If they're there, the roosters stay in the barn. If they're not there, the roosters are outside And
Somebody else is saying something.
it'd be noisier.
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
I'm sorry.
we're at the select board discussion meeting, so we're already discussing this, okay? We've already taken
There's
public
another
comment.
option though, Joe, that I'd like to bring up. I know you're at your
I'm trying to run the meeting here.
I realize that, but there are
Okay.
other options that you should let the public.
The public had a chance to
Well,
speak.
it's not
Dana.
over yet. You haven't said it was over yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They set it up to selectmen now. Yeah.
We started this, no one came to the mic.
Well, we
started the
raised our
select.
hands and nobody's looking.
We started the select board discussion, Dana, okay? And you should know that once you start the select board discussion, public comment ceases for a while until the select board is done discussing.
And after that, can we discuss it?
I will allow more discussion after
Thank you.
that. Louise?
The only thing I would say of an expense for a public hearing would be advertising.
Right. So, okay, so, where are we?
I'm not into adding any more rules and regulations. I feel this is enough. It doesn't seem like there's, but if there is minimal cost for a public hearing, I'm game for that as well. But
You have to have
I'm
an,
an of more laws.
you have to have an ordinance designed for the public hearing, saying, okay, here's an ordinance that you can comment on, okay? And that has to be published and made public at least a week in advance of the hearing. And then people can comment on what that ordinance says. And then the select board takes that public comment and can change the ordinance based on the comment, or decide not to go forward with an ordinance. So those are your options.
What do we want to go in the ordinance? What do we want the ordinance to say if we're going to have a public hearing?
Well, I mean, you have a
We had a
sample,
couple of things up in front of us.
yeah, you have a sample ordinance in front of you.
That's the way,
That would be as far as I would go with it,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
the way you would arrive
I don't like the
at
idea.
that would be to have a workshop, probably to develop an ordinance would be one way you could do it. Another way would be to give staff sufficient instructions to draft something for your subsequent approval.
So, Charlie?
Well, we've had a long period of time to take in the information on this, and I know it must be frustrating for all the parties concerned, as it would be, and I was hoping we could find some middle ground through mediation, but that's not always successful. We've had quite a few comments on this, and from both rural rights and farm activists and just local folks who have animals and folks who believe that we've overregulated enough in this society, and I tend to agree with that many times. I also have seen a body of concerns brought up from people other than the complainants, the Gelsons, on this issue. I'd say it's run about 50-50, which from a standpoint of an elected official, you can't get much closer than saying it may be time that this should go forward, at least to a public hearing, which would allow for a broader community input into the discussion. I've had comments made directly to me saying our last actions of not bringing it forward to a public hearing and a possible vote at town meeting was a cop-out of this board, not taking seriously the complaints of the citizens in this town. Whether it's a cop-out or not, I think our role here as elected officials is to weigh all the information that comes forward. In doing that, and Julie, I see you shaking your head because, again, you're one party that feels aggrieved. Our job is to try to find what's best for the public good, for everyone in town, which would lead me to a comment that may not sit well with the Gelstons, is that it wouldn't just be roosters. An animal is an animal. I sat next to a braying, I don't know if it was a mule, a donkey, a burro, I don't know what they called it, but for about 8 years, and I'll tell you, that's more than a braying horse once or twice a day. That thing, but at the time, I got to admit, there was a lot more distance between me and it, so it didn't bother me as much. However, in taking the tack that this is in response to the public good, which is what this board has to weigh in making this decision, I would not be in favor of singling it out as a rooster. I would single it out as not trying to be a cop-out, which may, in fact, as that gentleman suggested, it may kill it at a town meeting vote directly if you put in all animals. But to be fair, what's the difference between a noisy llama and a noisy rooster or a barking dog? So again, I would probably vote for it going to public hearing and seeing if at public hearing we solicited enough information. But my belief would be I would support it only if it were for all animals and not singling out any particular animal for the public good, because we'd just be back at it again the very next time some other animal is causing a disturbance.
Okay, mark this one down. Charlie and I totally agree on this one. I really think,
You're losing it.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't matter what animal it is. You cannot pick out one animal and choose, that's the only animal we have an ordinance against, just like a barking dog ordinance. It should involve every animal, because every animal makes noises, including human beings who scream and yell and party well into the night oftentimes. My thing is, what enforcement mechanism do we have, even if we have an ordinance? My guess is if this is just a guess, I'm not sure. If she was hit with a $50 fine, she'd pay the fine, and the roosters would keep crowing. No. So are you putting an ordinance in place that really has any enforcement behind it? And the question is, okay, what does the ordinance look like? What are the fines? And is just fining someone for noisy animals a solution?
I think the barking dog ordinance at this point works for the most part. I think that I'm guessing that when animal control goes and talks to somebody, that brings official attention to it versus neighborly attention to it. And the fact that no tickets have been written because it takes four offenses means I've got to believe that something's being done. I personally live next to a barking dog issue, and I'm able to call most of the time. Most of the time it's the middle of the night, but I'm able to call and immediately they take care of it. But it still happens. If I called code enforcement at 1 in the morning and they came up, I mean, it would be hours before they got there, and who knows. But the fact that I've been woken up and I'm able to call and my neighbor takes care of it is a positive thing. But that's because code enforcement, I think, has been there enough and talked to them enough that they understand. And I think that helped. I think code enforcement made it possible for that to help. And so that type of relief would be that would be your enforcement. If somebody gets down to that level where they're, in the 5th and 6th and they're paying hundreds of dollars in fines, if they're paying hundreds of dollars in fines every month because they ignore it, it's going to add up. I've got to believe that will be a deterrent over time if it was that bad.
And just remember, we need, this has to go to town meeting if we decide to have a public hearing, and then the town has to decide whether or not they want to pass this.
Correct.
They could say no, and nothing happens.
Correct.
Don, what is the latest we can go with a public hearing before we can go to town meeting? March?
I would say that. Louise may say something different.
I would like to see end of February. It depends on, when you expect to have the warrant ready to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking March. I'm thinking, because we need to now make suggestions to what we want to see in the noise ordinance. I don't think we're prepared tonight to make suggestions to the current noise ordinance.
There is a very good first draft.
Yeah, it is. But, I would like to have a full discussion on the noise ordinance, schedule a public hearing early March, take the comments, by the end of March, be able to decide whether or not to move forward with that ordinance to go to town meeting. That's if everybody wants to deal with this.
Schedule a workshop.
Well, first of all, is it the majority of the board that wants to move forward towards a public hearing? I mean, okay. So, Don?
I could also, to move things along more quickly, I would suggest that this is not a unique issue. It's being dealt with in a number of different towns in this region and certainly in Maine and nationally. I would say that we could get our town attorney involved and get to a well-written ordinance quickly.
Okay. All right, why don't we get sample ordinances from other towns who are similar to Raymond? I mean, you know, obviously you can't take Portland's ordinance and make it work in Raymond, but I think there are many ordinances with very similar towns.
That's why I would suggest that we take the ordinances we do have, what we're trying to, I get the general, I think I'm getting the general direction, which is we're talking about all animal noises.
All animal noises.
And we take that information to our town attorney and say, this is what we're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
And trying to balance out the rights of animal owners to reasonably have animals in the rural zone versus the rights of people to quiet peace and enjoyment of their homes, and try to come up with something that's workable. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I think that works.
Does that work for you all?
Wally?
Well, it seems that we're happy with the barking dog ordinance, which means if we're happy with the barking dog ordinance, you just take out barking dog and
include all.
Well, that's the simple way.
That's a simple solution, but that ordinance was passed in 1984.
Right.
Over the last 27 years, 28 years, things might have changed. Yeah, so you might want to look at.
I agree with that.
You might want to just take a quick look to make sure that it's not an outdated ordinance at this point. Because if you're going to go in and change it, you might want to update it.
But that's also a direction that I need too, is that you can make this as complex as you like it.
No, we want it simple.
Or you can move towards simplicity, which is your point.
Right.
And I would say that we show
Without
them.
getting the lawyers in.
Well, as soon as you do that, you're going to move off the simplicity mode to some degree.
Well, I think we need to look at what other towns have done. So if someone maybe has dealt with this in a better way than we're thinking of.
I'm sure they have dealt with it.
So if we can review those and try and incorporate them into our barking dog ordinance, it might make sense. Okay, so I think our next meeting date is like February 7th. So we're going to be dealing with the ordinance at that point to try and fine tune it and then set up a public hearing date. Okay? Comments, Dana?
What I was trying to do, Joe, is try to take some of the burden off you guys. Instead of having 5 people make a decision like this, why don't you have the people who want this ordinance so bad go door to door and collect 200 signatures and then put it on a ballot like a referendum. Then come back to you guys and say, look, we got 200 signatures, Joe. Can we have this on a ballot? Let them do that instead of having 5 people decide and maybe, 10 people at a public hearing? You know what public hearings are like in Raymond. Heck, you get the dog catcher and a few people that show up, you know? So it's...
Well, unfortunately, we are elected to make these kinds of decisions. It's not always the...
Why can't you have a have them get signatures?
Because
to add...
The public has the right to address the select board to address an issue.
Now, does the planning board have anything to do with this? I know the fire department, if they have changes to the ordinances, they go through the planning board, then come to the select board.
I don't think the planning board has anything to do with it.
No.
You know, I mean, it's something they, you know, get signatures if you want rules changed that bad. You know, that's how I feel.
Louise?
Anybody has the right to put a petition together. They could do it if they wish to.
Yeah, or they can come directly to the select board. So.
But who would set the number?
I was just going to point out what Louise said. The difference is when somebody comes to the Board of Selectmen, and the Selectmen's collective judgment and the input that's gathered at the public hearing would be utilized in the crafting of an ordinance or deciding not to proceed. If you go strictly with the petition route, which is something that's open to all citizens, they can draft the language directly and go that way. So that's the difference. Mr. Gelson has chosen to go this route. Well, he or anyone else can choose to go the citizen initiative route, as we know.
Yep.
I would think that if the town is gonna act on any kind of an ordinance, there would have to be more than, they would have to take complaints from a minimum of 3 to 5 households.
Not how it works.
If you're taking it from one, then it's harassment, one person against another.
Not how it works.
I spoke with a lawyer, and that's what he told me. It's harassment if you do it that way.
Well, you know what? I don't know how much you paid your lawyer, but you pay them too much, so.
Because that's what it's coming to, is getting to ridiculous now. You know, over some roosters.
It's already ridiculous.
So, any other comments? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on. The recall and appointment ordinance. Okay, there's been changes made. Has everyone had a chance to read these?
Yes. For one.
You know, I'm just debating whether we're going to bring all these ordinances under one public hearing, which may be the way to go.
Yeah.
Instead of holding multiple public hearings.
I think that would be the way to go. I think what we're looking for on this one, this has been bumping along for quite some time.
Right.
Are we ready now to put this in a final form and take it to a public hearing? And then you can decide whether you want to go forward or not after the hearing.
Yeah. Has everyone had a chance to read it? Mike?
I'm going to throw out a comment. I know it's the 11th hour here on this, but as I read it and went back over the original samples we got from other towns, I got kind of a uneasy feeling that the 25% of the gubernatorial election is really a barrier, and that will discourage people from doing it. And one of the reasons that I've kind of come to this is I feel like we're the ones who are writing this and bringing it to the citizens. And by setting a mark of 25%, I felt like we were protecting ourselves and making it very difficult for citizens to get over that barrier. I think one of the things we did that was very positive was the three-pronged approach, where we had a number of signatures, then a public hearing as to why, so that both parties or all parties or comments got to be made as to why before it went to the vote. And I think that's an added step that was not in other ordinances that was very important, to have that vocal portion. And I just felt a little uneasy with that 25% threshold. The state requires 10%. Most towns are in the 10 or 15% range. There are a few towns that are at 25% with theirs. But I just had some second thoughts as I was reading this over the last couple of days and reviewing it before we went there. I may still be in the minority on this, but I would propose or talk about making a motion to change the 25% to 15%, because there is a subsequent conversation period, a public hearing, and then a vote, so that if you can't meet the original thresholds, you're never going to have the conversation. And that's where I thought about it. So other than that, I was very comfortable with the rest of the language.
Okay. Other comments? Mike, I happen to agree with you. I think 25% is a very high barrier. Most of these ordinances are in the 10% range, you know, meaning in Raymond, typically that would be 250 signatures, around that number.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of signatures when you start thinking about it. So Charlie, you had?
This is on another matter, but it came up over the discussion we were having, or we're trying to have, or haven't had, regarding appointments and vacancies. And would we have to also change the Budget Finance Committee ordinance in tandem with this change, because that ordinance does require that it's elected, not appointed? So this puts a step in the process but it's a shall within the Budget Finance Committee ordinance, that it shall be by town vote.
Yeah, but you can make it, you don't have to change two simultaneously. You can make one, and in that one ordinance say, notwithstanding any other previous actions. You only have to change one ordinance and not two.
Or would it just be, I mean, since it would be a simple ordinance change, it would just be taking that one line out? I'm just want to make sure that we're not cross-threading an issue here.
Yeah, I mean, you can, the latest ordinance, and you can word it however you want, to change another ordinance is possible.
So we may have to come up with just that type of language, that in this, insert that in there, that this would by reference amend the, but I don't know if we can amend it that, well, I suppose if it's voted on as an ordinance, it would. So we would probably need some kind of language in there to do that.
I agree that that could happen. The only thing is, since I'm the one that usually researches these things, when you leave something out of an ordinance that should be looked at a second ordinance to find out what you're supposed to do with the first ordinance, sometimes that doesn't happen. In which case, I think it's neater to either reference it, or it's...
You would reference it in this ordinance, and if this ordinance passes, you go change the other ordinance.
Yeah, just so long as it appears in both, so that there's no mistake.
Right. Yep. Yep. So, where we are is how does everyone feel on the 25% level? Sam?
I agree with you, and I agree with Charlie that 15% is a better number.
15?
It makes more sense in this community.
Like 10. I almost like 10.
I'm at the 10% level. I just think...
Well, 10% then.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking...
It's not
when you start thinking 200 to 250 signatures in the town of Raymond, that's a lot of signatures. Somebody has to be committed to go out and do that. So,
that was my feeling.
I think they should be committed.
Yeah.
They do it, yeah, there needs it.
But at 25%, that's why I thought the threshold was too high.
Okay. So, in this ordinance, what we're looking at, and this is not, is this the one that does the appointments too, the vacancies?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Section 10.
Okay. So we'll need to refer, so the changes we need to make, if I'm hearing everyone correctly, is change the 25% to 10%, and then refer section 10 to the Budget Finance Committee ordinance? Okay? That sound right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
And were you adding that little blurb of language notwithstanding any previous actions, or are you adding that in there as well?
Yeah, you can put that at the end.
As part of section 10?
You can actually have section 13 at that point.
Oh, number 13?
Yeah.
I had a question under the filling vacancies, section 12.
Okay.
And it was talking about what it would take for the selectmen to confirm the appointment. And it says by a majority vote of the members present.
Yep.
I personally have a problem with that, because you could have a board of 3 people.
Correct.
And my personal preference would be the majority vote of the members. Not just the members present, but the members. So you'd have to have...
Well, as long as you have a quorum, you have...
Exactly.
And that's 3.
A quorum is 3. 3. You can't take any action unless you have 3 members present.
But you would have to have a vote of 3 out of 5.
That's
Out of 4. Because there would only be 4. Well, I guess not if it was another
No,
committee.
what this says is if you have 3 members, 2 can actually make the appointment.
I would rather take present out of there, but have a majority of the members.
It's the same number, isn't it?
Yeah, it still reads the same way unless you specify that it has to be a vote of at least 3 members.
Hold on.
Yeah, but you'd have to have a majority, all 3 would have to agree.
So, yeah, what Louise is saying is that it has to be a majority of the 5, which it would be 3 affirmative votes versus a
Right,
majority of the 3.
and you would have to say that.
Okay.
You would have to say the number 3.
No, but you could have a board meeting of 3 people, and only
That's
2 would
correct.
have to be of the affirmative,
That's
out
right.
of 5.
That's
Right,
correct.
the way it's currently worded. But in order to change it to do what you want to do, you would have to specify the number 3.
Okay, but that would be my
Affirmative
preference.
votes.
3 affirmative votes, that's correct.
And that is my personal view, not as a town clerk.
And I would say, keep it consistent with the orders of business with the Board of Selectmen for anything else in the world.
Which is a quorum and the majority.
Because then you add complexity and you add confusion.
Yep, because you have 2 different rules at that point.
Right. And you have to remember the second rule.
Yep. Okay. All right, so we know the changes we want for the next meeting. We'll review it again at the February meeting, just set up a public hearing in March. Okay? Okay. Do we need to deal with tax acquired properties?
I think at this point, we could deal with them all at the February meeting. Sound right, Danielle?
February, March? When is it, Danielle, that these are all coming up? We've been delaying this because there's more coming on the agenda.
The new list comes out in February.
So we'll deal with it in the March meeting.
Okay.
Okay, March meeting, okay.
Okay, consideration of PACE program, Chris?
Hi, Chris Hansen, Code Enforcement Officer for the Town of Raymond. At the last meeting, I presented some information on the PACE program, which is a program sponsored by Energy Efficiency Maine. And you guys had asked me to look into a few questions. One of the questions was, what was the financial health of the PACE program? I talked with the executor of that program, Dana Fisher. When they started in 2010, they had $20 million. They've distributed 1.6 million of that, so there's roughly still over $18 million left. You had asked me why it was necessary for an ordinance. And apparently, when PACE started in other areas of the country, they had the municipalities do the administration and the collection through taxes. And in this case, Maine's version of PACE, the municipalities are not responsible for any of the administration. It's totally done by the PACE program. They do the administrating, the granting of the funds, and they keep track of the payments. So for the town, there shouldn't be any burden to the town at all. Their call centers handle the loans, all aspects of the application, underwriting, billing, and recording. You had asked me what sort of response they'd gotten from towns in our area. There have been over 100 loans so far statewide. The average loan amount has been $13,500, and they project that the energy savings from these projects is 40 to 50%. Wyndham has actually administrated 4 of these loans, and they have several applications in the process.
So what we have in front of us is a sample ordinance?
That's correct.
Okay. We'll schedule that. I mean, do you see any reason why we shouldn't move forward with this?
No.
They've been advertising all over TV.
No, I think the main question you guys had last time was their financial health.
Right.
Talking to him, he expected that $20 million to be expended possibly within the next 2 years. If we voted on this in June and it passed, that would give us an opportunity to still have quite a bit available to the town of Raymond. And he also said that that's when they would start seeing the payments coming in from these loans, and they anticipated that this program should last upwards of 10 years.
So it's a revolving loan fund is what it is. Okay. Anyone see any reason why we don't go forward with this? So another one we bring back in February, schedule public hearing for March. Everybody okay with that? Yep. Great. Okay. All right, before we go into executive session, I think I'll take public comment.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman. When a selectman wishes to speak under the public discussion portion of the agenda, would the chair require that the select board member, he or she, go in the audience and speak from the podium, or speak from the selectman?
Would you be speaking as a public member, or would you be speaking as a selectman?
I believe it would only be proper to speak as a public member.
Okay, then you would have to go over to the microphone over there.
Okay.
Teresa?
My name is Teresa Sadak. I'm from Webbs Mills Road. I have a couple things. I'm going to keep them to the point. First, I want to give a huge thank you to Don Willard and to Kevin Joyce for the sex offender ordinance. They found one that even fits better than what I was asking for originally, and thanks to Don, Bill Diamond also. He had just put it in, and Kevin Joyce was on it. Don did not give up. He'd send me emails with, I don't even know some of the people that you were sending me emails from, that he didn't give up on it at all. And it was huge that he just didn't let it go by the wayside, and I thank you for that. The second one is, thank you to Dennis for all you've done, and congratulations to Bruce. You know, you go out all the time and you risk your lives for us, so thank you on that. The third one I have is a concern as a citizen. I'm outraged, and I watch these meetings, and I used to be a school board member before, and so I've learned real quick the rules of politics. And I wrote down, and I'd ask the board's indulgence, because I seem to forget things and ramble. So I wrote everything down, and it's pretty quick, the way I read. So I would ask if I could read it, Mr. Bruno. All right. I want to thank you for allowing the public to speak about concerns that I have. I have a very huge concern that I feel needs to be addressed. I've been watching the last couple of months of meetings, and I'm totally horrified by what I've been seeing. The lack of respect from Charlie Levitt to his fellow selectmen, the town manager, the volunteers in this town, and to the townspeople is absolutely appalling. Every time, which is all the time, something doesn't go Charlie's way, he is disrespectful to that person, or he goes and writes an article in the newspaper and is technically airing Raymond's dirty laundry. I don't feel that this town has dirty laundry, except Charlie does feel that way. Also, I feel Charlie is abusing the selectman position by signing his name as Raymond Selectman in the newspaper articles. It is my understanding that no selectman has any authority outside of the meetings. By signing Raymond Selectman, you are speaking on behalf of the whole board, which is not okay. And the article I'm speaking, which I pulled it out of the newspaper, and it's signed Charles Levitt, Raymond Selectman. And I learned real quick with the school board member, if you sign school board member, you're speaking on behalf of all of them. We have a very good town here, and for him to publicly humiliate employees in this town the way that he does is not acceptable. Any employee issues should be through the town manager and not by surprise attack at selectmen meetings. In fact, I believe by doing this, Charlie is opening up the town to a libel suit. I am also surprised at the fact that these issues are brought up at a public selectmen meeting and Charlie bases his accusations on what other people tell him instead of having seen the offenses firsthand. Bruce Tupper puts his life on the line every time he goes out on a run for this town, and to accuse him and Dennis of, quote, making a deal 8 years ago is unbelievable. Bruce put his time in, he knows this town, he knows the budget, and for Charlie to belittle this is beyond words. So thank you for that. And breathe. As far as the RSU consolidation, Charlie, I would get the real reasons and the facts before get the true reasons for the school board at the time, extending a contract before you go publishing anything in the newspaper. You have no idea what we discussed. You've brought it up at the last couple of meetings about the school board and why I made that motion. And to this day, I will stand behind that motion for extending the contract. Just because something isn't what you would do doesn't mean it's wrong. We have not lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. We are actually saving money on this consolidation. Also, this is in the past, so move on. There is a chair for a reason. If Don had to answer everyone's concerns, whims, or questions, he would not be able to get his work done. From my experience being on a board, anyone else that has an issue goes through the chair, not the employee, and technically Don is an employee of the selectmen. What you are doing is micromanaging. It is wrong. We don't have a lot of town employees, but for you to publicly accuse them the way that you have been about using town property is wrong. Kudos to you, Don, for sticking up for this issue. You did it the last meeting I saw. This town is made up of a lot of volunteers, and the way that you degrade, belittle, and just publicly humiliate them is wrong. We live in the real world here, and you are no more perfect than anyone else in this town. When someone does something right, congratulate them. And for instance, tonight was a perfect example when everybody else stood up for Dennis, and you sat. You always bring out the negative in everything. And I'm just going to summarize. You accused Dennis of making deals behind closed doors. You humiliated Bruce Tupper by pretty much stating that he is not good enough for the job. You accused town employees of abusing their jobs by using town equipment. You micromanage Don and don't go through the chair. You congratulate other towns for voting the way that you think they should have voted, but belittle Raymond town folks. You have no respect for your fellow selectmen. You have no respect for their opinions on issues if it's not the way you think. Thank God we have a committee and not just one person guiding this town. Do you even know what the word committee means? Because I don't feel you are a team player at all here. I do not expect you to bend to everyone else's opinions or thoughts, but I do expect you as a town official to be respectful, go through the proper channels, and conduct yourself in a manner that this town can respect. I could go on, but I've made my point. Something needs to change with this process. And if you feel I'm attacking you, I'm just stating facts that have happened at meetings and in the newspaper articles. And it's really embarrassing to watch. Thank you for listening.
Please, no applause. We're trying to run a meeting. Any other public comment? Charles?
Good evening, Charles Levitt, 14 Levitt Road, Raymond. I think I want to withdraw the 10% threshold for recall, but we'll air that out later. I would like to make a comment regarding, and just something that I would like the board to look at coming forward in the future is this town went through quite a convolution several months ago regarding putting a cell phone tower on the top of Raymond Hill Road. As far as I can determine, most recently looking at the planning board agenda, U.S. Cellular has not acted. The major reason, in my own mind, and it may be my own personal opinion, and I'll try to do this respectfully. However, the separation between spot zoning and changing that ordinance was the driving factor for public safety. So in light of the fact that public safety and communications to that section of town were considered to be less than adequate for the public safety of the folks over in North Raymond, as presented by public safety officials. I'd like to be able to see where do we stand on that, because in the absence of that tower moving forward, it would appear as though we may have a gap in our public safety communication network, which I think as responsible officials, the board would want to make sure if we're not going to see a tower there, then how do we make up that difference of the lack of communications for North Raymond? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want them to address that?
Well, I mean, this is public comment period, so.
I'm not a member of the public, but I'm the code officer, and I think I have some insight on the question about the cell tower.
Fair enough.
The town planner, Hugh Cox, has been in communication with the cell tower people. The reason there is a delay as far as the town planner and I'm concerned, they're having problems with their stormwater calculations, and those issues have not been ironed out yet. So that may add to their delay. I don't know if it has anything to do with anything but that.
Thanks. Any further public comment?
I just love coming to the microphone. A couple things. One, I think it takes courage to be different, whether it's negative or positive. I've never had a fully 5-member select board that supported everything I did. I do think it takes a lot of courage for any citizen to step forward and speak their mind, regardless. What I don't like is negativity, whether it's the Roosters, whether it's me, or whether it's anything else. I've had extensive training in negotiations, and it's bothersome to sit at a meeting and have citizens fighting over dog or a rooster. And I didn't know they were looking for a mediator, or at least I didn't pay attention. But I'll tell you, if I can get involved with something like that as a citizen and sit with the parties before we go changing an ordinance, you'll know really quickly within an hour's time whether or not it's something that people really want to work out, or whether they just want to be sarcastic and mean and nasty, which is something that isn't becoming on anyone. So I offer my services for the town to consider that, whether you use it now or not. And I would ask that everyone consider the idea of we're all just a little bit different. And I think that sometimes listening to people instead of preparing to say what you want to say before they're done talking makes it a lot easier. And I don't care whether it's a rooster or a dog. I do know when we look at our ordinances, why we don't try to attach them, like just change the dog ordinance to any noisy thing or whatever, because you get a chance of losing the barking dog ordinance too. So I'm willing to go and do the mediation if they really want it, and I'm willing to be available for any of that sort of thing. And I believe Raymond builds on positivity and positive action, so thank you.
Well, Dennis, thank you for that offer. What I would suggest is, Susan, you contact the Gelstons and the Sutherland Russos and see if they're open to Dennis serving as a mediator.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
To clarify the issue of mediation, there was a discussion back channel. We don't, as you know, Dennis, we don't offer that, service. We would have had to hire a mediator. It's the question that Joe and I pondered was whether we should step into this venue or let the parties try to meet and work out their differences, as it was seen as more of a neighborhood or neighbor dispute. So we didn't go to the town expense of going with a mediator, but I thank you for your offer, and I think that's a great suggestion. And I just want to clear up that point. It wasn't a lack of interest by the town. It was just a lack of a resource, and whether we should step into something we had never done before, which is hire a professional mediator to mediate amongst neighbors.
I'm just trying to be neighborly, and I think that's how we build this community.
Right, and I have confidence in your ability in that area, and I would agree. We will know very quickly.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Further public comment? Okay. Bruce?
Did you want to address anything on radio tower?
If you feel you need to add something, feel free.
Go further. Chris actually covered it for
Okay.
everyone else.
Okay. Then we're good. All right. Next item on the agenda is the first executive session.
I don't know if we can. He canceled that, so we canceled that. I don't know what you want to do there.
He's here. We can have a discussion. No, you can only do one at a time.
So then we're gonna come back over that time? I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
MRSA subsection 4056H with CEO.
Regarding a land use ordinance violation.
Would we invite Mr. White?
Yes. Mr. White has the right to come into the executive session if he so chooses. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. White, you are invited into the executive session if you want to come in. Okay, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session, MRSA subsection 4056H with CEO about pending land use legal matters.
Second. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Can I have a...
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session pursuant MRSA subsection 4056A, town manager evaluation.
Second.
All those in favor? We're back in executive session. Thank you. Can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session pursuant MRSA subsection 4056A for the town manager evaluation.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor? We're out of executive session. We just did the town manager evaluation. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to extend the town manager of Raymond's contract for 1 additional year.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Levitt?
I would like to just express my disagreement with the fact that we are having this motion on the floor at this time. After coming out of executive session for the evaluation of the town manager, I believe that extension of the contract would be a separate agenda item that would have required public notice, and I would request that it be put off to the next meeting when it's properly noticed.
Overruled.
Okay. And then that being overruled, I would like to continue my comments.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I just want, for the purpose of full disclosure, so the folks in town understand and know what we would be extending. It's the contract for the town manager. I don't have the exact, well, I guess I have to ask a question first. How long is this being, to what date is this extended to?
It'll be 3 years from June, I believe. I think you have 2 years right now. So it'll be an extra year.
Right.
That'll be 3 years from June, right?
I think that's right.
I believe that's correct.
So this is a 3-year contract, basically, 2 years plus one. Plus one, okay. Thank you, so that we have that information prior to voting on it. So I'm going to assume, without disclosing any future contract negotiations, that we would be dealing with the same base contract as before, or the current contract, which I believe is, and I don't have the exact figure, maybe the town manager can help me on this, it's approximately $91,000 a year, Mr. Willard?
That's approximately
your budget,
correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
The effective date is July 1, so.
Yeah, so
that's, I just looked it up.
So we're going to be extending this contract until June 30th.
Right.
Of 2015. 2015. Okay, thank you. Okay, an extension to 2015. What I want to do is just so that the community understands and is knowledgeable about what's in this contract that we're going to be voting on, so that everyone has, particularly with such short notice that this would take place tonight. So the salary is approximately $91,000. I'm going to skip right to one of the item 8 on the contract, which is a severance, a 1-year severance package. So conceivably after June 2015, depending where that timing might be, if we were to separate, terminate with the town manager, the severance package presently in place is 1 year of salary, 100% family health, 100% of the life insurance, 100% of the long-term disability, and I'll get into those because those are contract items, and approximately 10%, which would be $9,100 into the deferred compensation plan.
If without cause.
If without cause.
Without cause.
Correct, and I certainly would never expect cause. However, I just want to state the fact that it's a 3-year, we're going out 3 years to 2015 with a potential of a 1-year severance. That includes all of those aforementioned items, and it's a 1-year severance package.
Which is typical of every other town manager contract out there.
Yeah, Hank Aho was let go in Auburn. He had a 6-month severance package, but I disagree. I haven't seen any data on it, Mr. Chairman. I've asked for the data. I haven't seen any data. There's been no compensation study done, to my knowledge, in many years on this issue. The only thing we have is anecdotal.
Okay.
The Board of Selectmen, you weren't on the board, but the Board of Selectmen, when we negotiated the first formal agreement, asked for samples of agreements from across Maine, and then also looked at national models. And so that's where the data came from this. This idea of having a professional contract was something that was suggested by the Board of Selectmen to me, so that we would have a good work rules and understanding of the relationship. And I think it's been an effective thing. And it's been enforced now since 2007. But it was based on exactly what you're saying. You just weren't a member of the board at that time.
Right. So 2007. What I'm using as an example, Mr. Willett, is that we recently did a compensation study in order to change the hours and complete a increase in salary for the code enforcement officer. And at that time, we did a survey of the other towns for 2011. So I'm just stating a fact that there has been no compensation study done recently. If I wanted to on my own have to go to every town around, I would, but it's that I see as more of a role of the board rather than an individual member. I'll just continue to try to keep this brief. So under the current contract is a salary of $91,000 plus a 100% health and dental family plan. We contribute $449 towards a long-term disability contract. We contribute $1,165 for a $500,000 life insurance policy. We provide a $3,600 per year car allowance.
The life insurance is paid from my salary.
The overage, I believe we're committed to the $1,165, and then anything that's over and above.
It's paid out of my salary.
Yeah, I think we went through that budget last year.
It's also taxable.
Yeah, regardless, it's I believe the overage is
It's paid out of my salary, Charlie.
Okay, and we can verify that, Don. That's great. I'm glad, so that we're clear on what's going in the contract, and I will check that again. I know in the contract it says that the town is responsible for paying that. It's in the contract. It's an employer-paid benefit. $3,600 per year for a car allowance, or the trade-in surplus car deal that we do. Somehow that does work out to $3,600. 4 weeks vacation, 13 holidays, and then again, as I mentioned before, $9,100 a year, or 10% of the salary, whatever that may be, into the deferred compensation plan, and that's in addition to Social Security, because I would imagine you're in the Social Security system, so the employer would also be paying for that retirement portion, or that Social Security portion. So I think it's important, and I would hope that possibly next year we would do the evaluation, and we'd also put on the agenda that we're going to be extending the contract so that the public is absolutely aware of what takes place at this board with your dollars and how we manage your dollars, regardless of whether folks think it's micromanaging. I think every penny that's your money gets managed. So if that's micromanaging, so be it. And I'm done. Thank you.
The fact that we had an agenda item that says evaluation, we're out of executive session, people can then make comments about evaluations. Therefore, an extension of the contract is reasonable and legal. So I have a motion on the floor. The motion on the floor is to extend the contract of Don Willard, our town manager, for 1 year. Any further discussion? I just want to say that Don Willard has done an excellent job as town manager, despite some of the tough conditions he has to work under with some members who are elected officials in this town. All those in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Congratulations, Don.
Congratulations, Don. Keep up the great work.
Going down.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Okay. Next item is the town manager report. Do you have anything?
I have a few announcements. I'll do them as quickly as possible. There will be a rabies clinic. Danielle has here at the town office. I think Louise has changed that to Obashan Hardware on January 21st, but we will clarify that and make sure that it's on the website. It is Obashan Hardware? Okay, so it will be on January 21st from 1 to 3. There is a $10 per pet payment that has to be made in cash. There is a planning board public hearing scheduled for January 25th. Information about that, detailed information is on the website. The Lions Club, Raymond Lions Club scholarship applications are now available on our website under the community resources. They're due by May 14th, and the website has details and instructions on that. I have spoken with some community members, with Selectman Gifford, and now with our Public Safety Chief, Bruce Tupper, about the possibility of the town pursuing a grant to acquire carbon monoxide detectors and/or to promote carbon monoxide education, awareness. And Bruce Tupper, our chief, is very excited. I think Sam is very interested in this issue. As I mentioned, there are community members who are interested. The Narragansett No. 1 Foundation, which was founded in 2001 by Buxton residents Pat and Irwin Wales, is where the money came for the Wyndham program, and they ended up getting 300 carbon monoxide detectors to distribute to Wyndham residents. We're going to pursue making application to that same fund and other courses of action that might result in increasing the public awareness of this issue, which you know, as you know, did have tragic consequences in our community and in Wyndham as well, and is a common public safety threat and issue. So I want to let you know I'm working on that issue.
Okay.
Now, if Sam has anything he wants to add to that, or?
No, I think you covered it very
Okay.
well. The next meeting date is going to be February 7th.
Yes.
2012, which is the first Tuesday of February.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Fiscal warrants, Lonnie?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to accept payroll expense summary dated January 10th, 2012 for the amount of $159,355.81.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
I would also like to make a motion to accept treasurer's warrant dated January 10th, 2012 for the amount of $105,963.18.
A second? Second. Moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All set? Danielle, did you have something?
I was just going to remind you about the minutes from last meeting.
We're going to do those at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further items on the agenda, I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Good night.